Good morning and welcome to Black Mental Health Matters. Today I have with me Florence Norris. Florence comes with several years' experience of teaching various universities psychology courses, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. She holds her Master's of Science in community international advocate for teaching psychology to others how to increase their self-awareness and build a healthy self-esteem. She's taught various courses including abnormal psychology, personality theories, global and social psychology, and clinical assessment, and more. Her hobbies are hiking, gardening, animals of all sorts, teaching, seeing lives change and transform for the better, traveling and educating people on how to be free, and definitely not lastly or least, watching her daughters grow and achieve happiness and the goals they have in their lives. Welcome, Florence, to today's show. How are you? Florence, you're muted.
Hi, Sonia. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm awesome. I'm doing really well today. I'm awesome. It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Awesome.
I think you cut out a little bit in the beginning, but I think we heard most of everything. The the
Awesome.
the yes, that I like to hike and garden, so that's good.
Sometimes my computer does its own thing.
That's okay. Oh, these glasses are better. So, how do we know how many people are
So
here?
what I'm going to do, since the audience missed some of what I said, I'm going to ask you to share with the audience who you are, since they would have missed some of what I
Okay.
said.
Okay, great. No problem. Thank you so much. I'm Florence Norris. I go by Flo, so feel free to call me Flo. And as far as academic, my background, I have a Master's of Science in Community Counseling Psychology, and then I have my bachelor's degree in Public Health, and I have my associates in sociology, which I kind of got by accident, but maybe I'll tell you about that another time. And I was recently awarded
Okay.
a yeah, there's a delay. Okay. I was recently awarded a doctoral degree in psychology by Accord University in Somalia, where I do my international work. And it was
Awesome.
yeah, an incredibly high degree, high honor that I wasn't expecting, and just really, really wonderful. And so my background, as far as teaching, I've been teaching now at the undergraduate and the undergraduate level about a little bit over 7 years, and graduate level for about 2 years or so. Um, and
Okay, nice.
hmm I teach psychology, all sorts of psychology courses. Probably many of you in the audience have taken psychology classes like Psych 101 or personality disorders and social psychology. I do all of those. And I also do teach at the graduate level the clinical assessment and the life stages, life stage developmental stages, and legal and ethics in the graduate level. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. So I'm going to start off with my first question, and that's to ask you to give me a brief overview on narcissistic personality disorder and just list a few of the characteristics so we know what we're looking for.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and read directly from the it's not directly from the DSM, but it is a medical definition. Okay, so narcissistic personality. Okay. No, yes, narcissistic personality disorder. First, if I can start like this, if you don't mind. There are various disorders. Okay, but I want to start off here, if you don't mind, Sonia. Psychology, because a lot of people assume that psychology is the study of abnormal psychology, and it's a lot more than that. Okay, but we'll get it. I will go directly into narcissistic personality disorder in just a minute. So psychology is the study, literally, when you do the etymology of the word, is the study of the soul. Okay, and the soul is the mind. Okay, the will. And this is real briefly, the mind, the will, and the emotions. So how do we, why do we feel the way we feel? And so it involves a lot of physiology. So, the hormones, the neurotransmitters, etc. And why do we do what we do, right? So our will, right? Our cognitive processes behind why we make certain decisions, why we don't do certain things, etc. Okay, so that and the cognitive processes involving memory and involving how we think, etc. Okay, so that is psychology, the study of the soul. All right. Now, under psychology, there's all different kinds of branches of psychology. Okay, so we have social psychology, we have cognitive psychology, we have biological psychology, and then we also have abnormal psychology. Okay, so if psychology is the study of the of people's soul, right, of mind, will, and emotions, a normal functioning individual, then what is abnormal psychology? Abnormal psychology then is the study of abnormal behavior. Okay, and why are these individuals not processing correctly? Why is this person not thinking normally, not behaving normally, not feeling normally? Okay, and so that's where we get this thing from, the DSM, right? This is the DSM that the mental health practitioners, etc., use to diagnose different disorders. All right. Now, and then under all these disorders, falls personality disorders. Okay, which narcissistic personality disorder falls into. So there's 10 different kinds of personality disorders. Narcissistic personality disorder is one type of personality disorder. Okay, and with that said, it falls into, there's 3 different clusters that personality disorders falls into. Narcissistic personality disorder falls into cluster B for boy. Okay, and there's 4 different personality disorders in that cluster, and narcissistic personality, let's just say NPD for short. Okay, I'll be saying NPD every now and then for short instead of narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, so NPD falls into cluster B. And now I'm going to read a brief overview. I wish I could see the audience. Oh, that's okay. All right. I'm going to read a brief overview of.
They can see us. They can
Oh,
see us.
yeah, that's not fair. Okay, but that's okay. That's okay. Um, NPD, okay, for short. Obviously, if you're here in the audience, because I am, oops, where are you? Are you still there? Okay. Um, because I know how traumatizing abuse at the hands of a narcissistically disordered person is, you will have more than likely experienced a form of NPD abuse, uh, or maybe you're even trying to figure, am I the narcissist, etc. These are questions that victims, and I don't like to use the word victim very easily, because I feel that we are more than able to conquer life, but there are actually true victims of things that should not happen in this lifetime. And if you are and being at the hand of a narcissistically personality disordered person is definitely one of those categories where you are a victim, okay? Because it is not your fault. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. Doesn't mean he, she is. No, but it means that it is not your fault. You have not instigated or made this person to be abusive to you in this format, okay? Let me read Narcissistic Personality Disorder, also called NPD, a brief overview. It's a disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of importance, big ego, okay? They think more of themselves than they should, way more. Narcissistic personality disorder, it used to be that it was more common in men, but because our society and so many societies, I'm in the US right now, I'm in California, so the Western society, but it's everywhere. So because the world at large is becoming more, has become more narcissistic, I would say that many women also have this disorder. Although there in that cluster B that I was telling you about, okay, there's the histrionic, the antisocial, and the borderline personality disorder that all fall into cluster B. A lot of times that you're going to see some symptoms and some traits in those other cluster B personality disorders that people may think that it is narcissistic personality disorder, but it's not. But okay, let me keep going, okay? But okay. So narcissistic personality disorder is, this definition says, found more commonly in men. I would say not that many more, not from the research that I've done, not that much more. Let's say 60% men and the other women. The cause is unknown, but likely involves a combination of genetic and environmental factors. And Sonia and I can talk about that, our thoughts on top of it. Okay. Now, I'm not clinical. I'm a professor of psychology. Okay. I'm not, I have the doctor title, but it's honoris causa. It's an honor. It was given it to me. So ethically, I can only be called doctor at Accord University. Okay. Everywhere else, where I teach, I'm professor. Okay. So, but I'm telling you that to say that I'm not clinical, but I have experience with the students and and my personal clients and coaching in my coaching business and life. So Sonia and I can talk a little bit about it. So NPD, the cause is unknown, but it likely involves a combination of genetic, meaning you're born with certain traits, and environmental factors, your socialization, okay, how you grew up, where you grew up, etc. Or if you were abused, neglected, birth order, all kinds of stuff are involved. The symptoms include an excessive need for admiration, disregard for other people's feelings. What'd you say, Sonia?
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to ask another question.
Please, go ahead.
yeah, in terms of the red flags, what red flags should we look out for?
Yes.
Because I know from my own personal experience, sometimes there
You cut out on me. Oh, you're cutting out on me, Sonia. I heard you cut out on me. I heard that. What are the red flags? And from your personal experience, they tend to be right in your face, but you ignore them.
yeah, pretty
It,
much.
yeah, you cut out. So, well, getting to know people is very difficult, and um, we want to be forgiving in what we're seeing, but red flags are an excessive need for admiration. We all like to be admired, but an excessive need, like everything is about me, 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 or them. They the conversation always goes back to them. um, an extreme sense of entitlement, okay, constantly feeling like they are entitled, um, an inability to accept any kind of criticism. And the reason for this is because they have a very fragile ego. They're actually quite insecure, okay? And depending on the type of narcissist that we're dealing with, then um, um, it will be exaggerated. So I would look for the red flags. I would look for is an excessive need for admiration. Everything is fine as long as you're praising them, as long as you're buying them something, as long as you're cooking for them, as long as you're giving them, having sex with them, as long as they are receiving something from you or from whoever to pump themselves up, to make themselves feel good. And we call this narcissistic fuel, okay? Narcissistic fuel. As long as they are receiving narcissistic fuel, then they are fine, okay? So that's what I would look for. I would look for, um, do they show any sort of concern about you or your life, okay? Do they ask you, Sonia, Flo, Joe, Jack, how are you? How was your day today? Oh, you look upset. Do they acknowledge that
So if
how, mhm, your feelings? Go ahead, Sonia. I'm sorry. There's a delay just to the audience,
no,
so you know.
I was gonna ask because very often we interact with people who are very good at concealing
Mm,
their motives.
yes, yes, yes.
So they will play this game with you. They'll say the right things. They're always politically correct. But
Hmm.
there is that underlying, you had better give me what I want kind of mentality. I want this and I want it this particular way. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm dealing with, or I have dealt with that in the past. That's in the past, where I've been with someone who was, and I just think they were just being passive abusive, you know, show you a really nice face on the surface, show my friends a really nice face on the surface. But there was
Mm,
that subtle abuse, really, really subtle abuse. And hearing what you're saying now, I can now identify, well, yes, this person was being narcissistic because everything was about them. There was that jealousy with female friends, why are you paying attention to them? You should be paying attention to me. It is
mhm.
really challenging because sometimes we mistake a person's neediness, that neediness on you to validate them as that person loving you, when that is not necessarily the case. It is, I'm going to give you this if you give me that kind of
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm. Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you said that you found yourself to be in a passive, let's say passive aggressive type of relationship where they were where they had very snide remarks and very below the radar type of remarks where it's like, oh yeah, Flo, I really like your hair. What hair color did you use? You know,
I
so
think let me be
so
more explicit what I
okay.
experienced. Because what I
Hmm.
experienced was, and I like to think of it as dual personality.
Hmm. They have
There
a
is that,
mask. They're
yes,
wearing,
there is
yes,
that kindness. Show
yeah,
you
they're
some degree of kindness, and you think they
absolutely
really care about you, but they take way more than they give. And the abuse comes in the things that they say and the things that they do. Then you see that
absolutely. So,
side that you
oh,
were not expecting, and it's very confusing. The kindness on one hand and then the meanness on another. So
right.
it's like night and day. One minute you're nice, the next minute you're not, and they can go from that place of being nice in like split seconds to just being totally mean.
Right, but they won't be mean in front of the other people.
No,
Right.
they always
So,
portray themselves as being a good guy, and you're the horrible person. You're the one who's
right,
abusive, not me. This is her. She's the one who will tell lies, not me. I am this perfect human being who don't have any flaws.
right. And sometimes the abuse comes in different forms when it's after the, when you're behind closed doors. Sometimes it will be a silent treatment. Sometimes it will be refraining from giving you something. Sometimes it might be very verbally abusive.
Well, I've experienced all of that.
Right.
All
Okay.
of
So
under
this
the
is
guy, I love you. So, and I remember at one stage she said to me, "I'm doing this for your own good." You know, this is for your
mhm.
own good, and I'm like, "Oh, this is for my own good."
Right. It will always be turned. It will always be your fault. So back to your question of what red flags to look for. Um, the lack of accountability, the lack of taking responsibility in a quote unquote normal, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
none of it, there's, see, normal does not equal perfect. All right. See, this is what we really need to get through our minds, that normal does not equal perfect. We are human beings. We're imperfect. We all have our character defects, our idiosyncrasies. But just because we're imperfect does not mean we are abnormal. Okay. So I want to really emphasize the fact that uh, us imperfect human beings, right, do not have to be deviant, dysfunctional, distressful, emotionally or physically dangerous. Okay, those are the 4 Ds that you want to look for in a disordered personality. Okay, pretty much, if you look, pretty much every single personality disorder, including narcissistic personality disorder, you're going to find that there's a level of distress that they are causing either to themselves and to you. There's danger some sort of way, okay, not necessarily always physical but emotional. There's dysfunction. There's a dysfunctional pattern, which one, and there's deviance. Like deviance meaning not sticking to the norm of society. And deviance is okay. Any one of those 4 Ds is to a degree. I shouldn't say is okay, but so we will experience it to a degree. But when it's a persistent pattern, and really causing imminent danger or just constant distress, then it's a problem. Okay. Um, but back to what you were talking about, how you've experienced that, all of those, and what signs to look for. First, I want to say this: we have to ask, first I want to say this. When you unknowingly get into a relationship with a narcissistic personality disordered person, they are not starting off like that. Okay, they are going to show excessive love and attention to you, right? They're going to tell you how beautiful you are, how smart you are. They're really going to be into you. And yes, more so than, you know, a normal type of encounter, okay? Because they are master at it. They are master at it, Sonia. So, but this is what I want to say, that there are some terms in narcissistic language that we need. Abuse. If you are an abuse victim, okay, you really need to know a few terms so that you can attach the terms to the behavior. Love bombing, okay? I don't know if you've ever heard of love bombing, okay? And if somebody can put that in the chat.
No, I haven't.
Oh, now I can see the chat.
I haven't ever. I've not heard that term.
Okay,
so I'm gonna post it here.
Yeah, go ahead and put that, love bombing.
Love.
Okay. Okay, then put another one, gaslighting. Gaslighting. Love bombing. Thank you, Daniel. Hi, brother. How are you? Okay, love bombing, gaslighting. Put what else do we put? Narcissistic fuel. Put narcissistic, or just put fuel. 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 Hi, Azikiwi. Tete.
Narcissistic
fuel. Yes. Gaslighting, love bombing, narcissistic fuel. Okay. Okay. So when you first meet somebody, when you first meet a narcissistic disordered person, and then okay, one more term. Put narcissism in one line. Put narcissism versus narcissistic. Okay, there's two different. So narcissism versus narcissistic. Narcissism versus narcissistic. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's get back to love bombing. When you first meet somebody, because we're talking about what signs to look for, so we don't do this over again and again and again, right? When you first meet and then you were talking about we brought up mask. We brought up a mask or persona. Okay. So when you meet somebody who has narcissistic traits, okay, because to officially call somebody a narcissistically personality disordered person, they need to get a diagnosis from a medical professional. Okay, so that is an official diagnosis from the DSM. Okay, so you and I, we can have an innate sense. Okay, we can have an innate sense that that person is NPD. Okay, but in actuality, we don't really know unless we have some sort of knowledge and we've been in a relationship and we can say without a doubt, yes, that person has a disorder. Now, not everybody has the ability to do that. And unfortunately, people are using the term very liberally and way too much. They're calling everyone a narcissist the minute that somebody acts a little dramatic. I'm a dramatic person. I use my hands, I talk, and I'm an extrovert, etc. And I have a bit of that type of mannerism. So if a person, thinks, oh, just because she does her hands like this, or she talks loud, or he talks loud, that you can't just say, oh, they're a narcissist. All right, that is a diagnosis. But let's say that you meet somebody that has narcissistic traits. Okay, what do you look for? All right, you look for love bombing. Okay, and love bombing is when you first meet someone, they just like have
Mm-hmm.
an over the top. Um, they're just constantly praising you, and they're saying wow, or they're looking at you, or they're in an admirable way, and they just really are giving you the good vibes of you're just amazing and this and that, and you're thinking wow, this guy really likes me, or this woman really likes me, and but in actuality, what they're looking, if they are really an NPD, a narcissist, in actuality, what they're looking for is they're like, oh yes, she or he is a good source of
Mm-hmm.
fuel. They are a good source of fuel. Okay, they're seeing your vulnerabilities. They're seeing, are you, oh, is she going to, will she compliment me back? Will she endure with, in their mind, they know that they're abusive. Will she endure with, or he, but I'm just going to say she for now, will she endure with my abuse when it comes? Will she still be, will they still be there after I gaslight them? Okay. We're going to get into gaslighting in a minute. After I, um, after I another one, narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage, narcissistic injury and
Wow.
narcissistic rage. Yeah. So will they be there after, if after the rage that I exhibit and unleash on them? Because what happens once you get into the relationship and once you're hooked, Sonia, or whoever is
Mhm.
hooked, then they stop love bombing. They stop being admirable, showing you admiration. They no longer give you gifts and this,
Wow.
yeah, except to get you back. Okay, they will it's okay, it's definitely an abusive relationship, but when you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person, there's a different twist to it because um, it's so convoluted. It's so convoluted. Literally, 1 second they can love you, the next second they can hate you, and the next second they can love you again. So it just causes this really dysfunctional pattern for the victim, and you don't know what to do because when they love bomb you, when they're telling you, oh my God, so you're the most incredible woman I've ever met. Oh my God, you're the most incredible guy I've ever met. You're the only one that understands me. Nobody else understands me. You're everything I've ever wanted. You're every woman I've ever dated in my life put together. You're beautiful, you're strong, you're smart, you're this and that. Oh, you're so generous. All these things after they have just totally gaslit you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So gaslit, the past tense of gaslighting. What is gaslighting? Okay. Gaslighting the term comes from a movie. It was called Gaslighting, I think, or Gaslighting, an old movie, black and white. Very good movie, very interesting. Okay. So gaslighting is when it's basically they're trying to make you uh, uh, think you're crazy. Okay. They will call you, they'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. I never did that.
I'm listening to you. I'm hearing you because recently I experienced that with a friend,
Mm,
and my immediate reaction to myself was, why does this person lie? But now I'm understanding what they are doing, because initially I'm like, why does this person lie? But one of the other questions I want to ask, and that's to make the distinction between being a narcissistic personality and having a healthy self-esteem, feeling worthy of yourself. What is the difference? Because sometimes you see people who are so self-aware and you bring that self-confidence with them. Is there a difference between narcissistic personality and having a high and healthy self-esteem and self-confidence?
absolutely. So, and the best defense towards getting tricked into um, a narcissistic relationship is having a healthy self-awareness and a healthy self-esteem. And is there a difference? Is your question? So yes,
Yes.
there 100% is a difference. Okay, so a narcissist is, it may seem like, oh, they just have a really healthy self-esteem. They're confident and they talk about themselves, and it's attractive to people that don't have a healthy self-esteem, okay, and that are working on themselves. And because we have to take into consideration, why am I attracted to that type of person? More than likely is because you're not working on yourself, all right? And so you want in a sense, you want to be fed. In a sense, you need fuel. Okay, now some people say that codependency and narcissism are on the same measure, meaning a codependent and a narcissist go very well together. Okay, a codependent and a narcissist go very well together. Okay, is there a difference? Yes, the difference is that a person with a healthy self-esteem, Sonia, is not their main source of fuel is themselves, okay, or not other people, and they are not in a way that they are sucking the energy out of another person. All right, with a narcissist, they literally suck your energy. I look at them like a
Mm-hmm.
vampire, like a vampire, or like a what do you call it? Um, just look at them like they're sucking you like a leech. That's what look at like a leech. They're blood suckers. They're energy suckers. They take all your energy. They will
I've
take
heard
all your
someone refer to it differently. She actually refers to them as energy vampires.
yes, exactly.
I guess it's the same, energy vampires.
Every not just energy vampires, they will suck your money out, they will suck your life out, they'll suck all your positive energy. They have look at a narcissist as an empty shell. You can put that in the chat. Empty shell. They are empty shells. They're empty. So when you're empty, you need to go and get your energy. You need your personality. You need your money. You need to feel gratified. So they're sucking your energy from you. All right. Person with a healthy self-esteem that it does not want to be dependent, does not want to be dependent on another person's fuel and take their fuel, or nor do they want to see that other person um, destroyed and sad and lacking energy themselves. A person with healthy self-esteem wants the other person to feel, other people around them also to have a positive life experience. They're not users. That's a very easy way of distinguishing. They're not users and takers. Okay, they're not users and takers. A person with a healthy self-esteem is not a user or a taker, and it's a reciprocal relationship. Like you and I, we are involved in reciprocity, not in a dysfunctional way, though. Okay, uh, so yes, a narcissist and another person, a victim, also are involved in reciprocity, but unless that other person is dysfunctional themselves, then they're not getting anything out of it. All right. Now, why am I saying that? Or should I, is that answering the question?
Mm-hmm. One of the things I've come to realize is that persons who display narcissistic traits tend not to realize that that's who they are. And I'm saying this as I recall a conversation with someone earlier this week. And hearing you speak, I can now see that this person has narcissistic tendencies, but they see themselves as this perfect person without such flaws. They see themselves being kind and generous and stuff like that. But what I've realized is that if they give with one hand, they'll take with the other.
Perfectly put, Sonia. What does RSCP stand for? Your academic background. I think you're a pastoral counselor.
That stands for religious science practitioner.
Wonderful. Okay,
Religious science
so this
practitioner. I'm a spiritual practitioner.
wonderful. So this
So I
is
deal with I deal with matters of the soul, which you term the mind. Things that you would deal with, or certain aspects of psychology, but from that spiritual perspective. I look at your spirituality. How does
I,
that
yes, I
impact
love that.
what is going on with you?
I love that. I do too in my personal life and everywhere you go. But I said that because the questions you're asking and the awareness that you have are very evident. Okay. And so you were asking, why does this person lie all the time or act like they don't know what they are? They portray, do they portray themselves as generous, or do they actually say, oh, I'm a generous person, I'm this?
No, they portray themselves as being generous, as being empathetic, but on the other hand, the relationship is one where, even though I recognize that you're in a vulnerable position, I will take advantage of your vulnerability because it gives me an advantage over you to do that. And you
Mhm.
can see where it is. Let me take care of me, and to hell with you.
They're exploitive. So that is a trait. So if you wanted to put some traits,
I find it very self-centered.
oh, and they're
Yeah, very,
exploitive.
very self-centered.
They're self-centered. They're exploitive. So they'll take advantage
Yes,
of another
I like
person.
that word.
Mm-hmm. They're exploitive. So this is what you want to look for. Like, are they going to take advantage of another person, which is what exploitive means. They are
Mhm.
excessively at self admiration, excessive self admiration.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, so there's a difference between a healthy self-esteem and uh, and a narcissistic type of trait being displayed. Okay, so excessive admiration versus excessive self-admiration versus being proud of yourself because you are working hard to be the person that you are being. Okay, that's a big difference. And so
Mhm.
how can we tell the difference? How we tell the difference is, does this person take advantage of other people? Does this person always seem to come back to the conversation of me, 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 me? Okay.
Always, always,
Mhm.
always.
Yeah.
Conversations always about myself. Everything, the words they use is either I, my, me. You very
Wow.
seldom would hear we in the conversation.
Very,
Um,
very, very
it is
true.
this self-aggrandizement attitude that almost always comes through. I am important, you're not. One of the things that I've observed is the way in which they think are not on their level. Um, whereas, I believe in equality, no matter what your social standing in life
Mhm.
is, that
Mhm.
everyone should be treated with respect and dignity, and that you don't use people's poverty to your advantage.
Mhm.
You don't use people's lack of a higher education to your
Mhm.
advantage.
Mhm.
And that's just my belief. I was in a forum recently dealing with racism, and one of the things that came up was that the black person should speak first. And I said, no, you're going to treat me as an equal. You go first. And that was my attitude. And I think that very often we don't do enough self examination to
Mhm.
see how healthy we are mentally, if we're balanced or if we're a little off kiltered, either to the left or to the right. And we don't spend enough time working on ourselves so that we can have a really, really harmonious relationship for the whole planet, not just for ourselves, but for the whole planet.
Mhm.
We're not thinking at that level of true collaboration and taking care of each other, and living from that Ubuntu philosophy, I exist because you exist. We're not doing that enough.
I agree 100%.
And
And
with that, I'm going to ask, how,
mhm.
yeah, how can a person who has a narcissistic personality be treated psychologically to overcome such a personality if they want to overcome that personality?
Okay, that's a great question. You cut off a little bit, so if I'm not answering it, please let me know. But so that's where where I wanted to make the distinction of narcissist versus narcissism, or narcissist person versus narcissism. So NPD is an actual diagnosis, and they are a narcissist. Okay, so if
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic, um, just the whole overarching theme of narcissism, we can carry certain traits. Okay, so we can be selfish, we can be too much excessive self-admiration, we can be a bit exploitive, like, wow, you're just gonna take advantage of people like that, you're going to be rude, you're going to manipulate, you're going to be deceiving for your own purpose. We all have the capacity for good and evil within us. I like Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Jewish man in the death camps during the Nazi time, and so
Mm-hmm.
he stated in that book, we all have the capacity for good and evil. All of us can be a jerk, okay, or we can be kind. We have a choice, and that's where the whole spiritual component comes into it. We have a choice how we want to be. So your question is, if a person finds that, they're wondering, am I the narcissist? Number one, if you're wondering, are you the narcissist, and you feel a sense of remorse or concern about it, you are likely not a narcissist. Okay, if you feel any kind of remorse or concern, enduring remorse or concern about the fact that you might be the narcissist, you are more than likely not a narcissist because you're concerned about it. And concern means that you have empathy, okay, that you have the ability to care for another person. Whereas a narcissist, let's call him a narcissist, could care less about what other people think about them. They could care less if you don't like them or if you think they're terrible. They don't care. They don't care. But a person who cares is likely not a narcissist. It is somebody that wants to grow. It is somebody that wants to change. And yes, it is possible. What can you do? Number one is take take some courses, read some books. You want to become self-aware. You want to become self-aware. You want to have self-respect, okay? You want to have a healthy self-esteem, and you want to have self-confidence in a positive way. And so it's all about self-love and self-love, not narcissistic love where you're a narcissist is in love with themselves. A narcissist is in love with themselves. Literally the story of Narcissus, that's where the term came about, was in love with himself. He looked at himself in the pool, reflection of the water, and he fell in love with himself. But healthy love for self is not you love yourself versus being in love with yourself. Okay. So what you watch some videos, take some classes, do the things you love to do. Really take a do a self-analysis. Who am I? What do I like to do? And typically when we don't have healthy self-love, okay, what I found with my clients is they don't know what they love. They don't know who they are. They're not aware. So I would say start finding out, who are you? And just write some simple things down. Just very simple. Go back to the basics. What are my favorite colors? What songs do I like? What food do I like? Just these simple little activities can really help us become whole. We were created to thrive. We were created to flourish. Okay, we were created to enjoy life, to receive and to give life and love and feel good. That's how we're supposed to be. So I would start off with those things. Just write down some simple things. Okay, let's say my name is, and I like to, I always do this with my clients, is what does your name mean? Because there's so much in the name. So simple things. So my name is Florence, or I go by Flo. I used to hate my name, but now I use it. I use it for my benefit. And somebody might say, "Oh, that's so narcissistic." Oh, no, I'm not a narcissist. I am promoting myself, but I'm not a narcissist, but yes, I care about myself. So I'm going to take what I have in life and I'm going to use it to help myself. I'm not going to say, "Oh, I hate my name, I hate my hair, I hate this, no, because that'll make me miserable." Okay, so I have to find the positive. So write your name down and write, what do I like? What do I like? Start discovering who you are. Call this your self-awareness assessment. Self-awareness assessment.
I like that.
And you and I can share some tools that I use, and write down some basic things that you like just to start off with. That is one activity a person can do if you're listening on this broadcast.
I also like the word that you use, wholeness, because that's what one of the main tenets of my profession is, to return clients to wholeness. Find that
Yes.
place where you unite with the God of your understanding and that perfect wholeness. So I really like the fact that you went there, because that is what it's about. Find that we're made in the image and likeness of God, and God is all that is good. And if
Yes.
we can just get back to that place, I think that's one way in which narcissistic personality disorders can be treated, by just getting back to wholeness,
Well,
identifying who you are
mhm.
as being created from that thing that we call God. Some people refer to it source, universe, but just finding your wholeness.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because remember, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, just like depression, anxiety personality disorder, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, all of these disorders are treatable. Okay, and so and in order to be treatable, you have to want to be treated. Okay, so you said you think that this is how we can treat NPD. People with NPD don't want to be treated because they don't think that there's anything wrong with them. That's the problem. That's the problem. They do not think there's a
Yeah, the problem
problem
is
with
always the
them.
other person. The other person. I'm perfect. You're
Right,
imperfect.
right.
I think that is a challenge. Yeah, that's a challenge.
So so they're never going there, and you cannot see, this is what happens. They look for people that want to fix them, and that in itself is a codependency disorder. So a person that is codependent, all right, they are always looking for somebody else to fix.
Guilty. That's all I'm gonna say. Guilty.
Right? So yes. So that is the prime target for a person who is a narcissist, because they they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They don't think there's anything wrong with going to get their fuel from somebody else. They think you want to be, they think this is what you want. And in essence, partially that is what a codependent wants. But they just don't want to be abused. And
Yeah, I think that's why I attract those people.
so no more. So out of your words, because we speak into existence what we experience. So if you say that's why I tracked people, then you have to decide, is that what you want to continue doing, Sonia? You have to say, Flo, is that what you want to continue? Right,
I don't want to continue doing that. Now I'm
right.
understanding myself so much better and the kind of people that I attract into my world. So having that's really important. It means I can change that.
Right. And how we start to change it is by saying the kind of people I attract into my world are people who care about themselves. I attract people who care about others. I attract people who want to make this world a better place. That's who I attract. And that's who you will attract, because you are in essence uh, uh, speaking it into reality. Okay. And so and you have to maintain your
That's
boundaries.
correct.
You have to maintain your boundaries. You have to maintain your mental
That is so
boundaries.
true.
Yes, ma'am. Your mental boundaries, your physical boundaries, um, etc. But I want to get into, because this is Black Health Matters. So where's my phone? I want to get into some of the cultural questions, because you mentioned about how you went to this one particular group, and uh, they said, "Oh, let the Black person talk first." Um, in the U.S., that would never actually be said. It might be thought, but they would not say it. But because I am of a foreign background, I understand how you're feeling, that somebody would say that. Um, I'm not sure how much time we have, but I do want to. I want to address. I love the questions. Where are they? Hold on.
Go
I
ahead with
wrote.
that's a question. We're on the hour, but it's okay. I'm on my time. I suppose you're on your time, and I'm
I
sure
am.
that the organizers will mind if we go a few minutes over.
Okay. What time is it? 8 o'clock. My time, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's
We.
fine.
Okay. So let me see. How can healthcare professionals ensure the assessment and diagnosis of NPD in Black individuals, that they are culturally sensitive and free from bias? First of all, I want to talk a little bit about healthcare professionals, and also the governmental law and judicial system. most people are not able to diagnose. Most people don't. I'm not going to say diagnose because only a professional, clinically licensed person can diagnose. But most people cannot detect narcissism, okay, or narcissistic personality disorder. They can't detect it because they are so tricky. NPD people are very,
And I
very
agree with you. That is a position for someone who is trained to do.
trained and licensed. Yes, trained and licensed. So, to diagnose. But however, we can train people to be able to look for certain signs that they are being deceived by a narcissist. Okay. We can train these administrative people, healthcare professionals, and legal pastoral care. We can train them what to look for if they are open to being trained. Okay. Um, so, as far as being culturally sensitive and free from bias, um, they that is a different category where they would have to be trained how to be culturally humble, cultural humility, and that would go for any diagnosis. Okay. Um, uh, we need to just train people to be able to detect a narcissist, a true narcissist, and that is difficult. That is difficult for them. Okay. Um, they don't want to be diagnosed. The only reason that a person that is an actual narcissist would be in a mental health office is if they have gotten into trouble with the law for something else, because many narcissists, especially a malignant narcissist, they might get into trouble with the law. Okay. So if they've gotten into trouble with the law and they were assigned a domestic violence course or anger management course, or perhaps it has to do with substance abuse, because many narcissistic, especially malignant narcissists and overt narcissistic people, narcissists will engage in substance abuse. And so if the courts have assigned them to do a particular course, or to attend or to see a professional for therapy, that's why they will be in there. Okay. Or if their spouse or their significant other said, you need to go to a counselor or we're getting a divorce. So they're not, but they might go just to placate the individual, but they're not really trying to get help because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They don't see the problem. So they're likely not going to.
The other person.
Yeah. I was involved in a narcissistic relationship. I was involved with a person, I was married to a person that I'm as much as I can diagnose, he had NPD. Okay, but I didn't know it when I got married. And at one point in our relationship, I told him, because we always want to take them back, right? We always want to take them back. I told him, if you go to counseling, then I'll see you. So, he made a very feeble attempt and said, okay, I'll do it. And we ended up going to counseling at our church, and it was a terrible experience. It was awful because these people did not know what they were doing. They were caring, they were kind, but they were not trained professionals whatsoever. And it was a husband and wife team, and the wife ended up falling under his spell. Okay, just completely fell under his spell. It was terrible. It was a terrible experience. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was terrible. It was
So
terrible.
charming. Narcissistic men are very charming. I was married to one too. Very, very charming.
Women too.
They just know the right things to say and the right things to do in the
Absolutely.
moment. So
Very
I
charming.
understand that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're very appealing. You know,
Absolutely.
they're very
Remember,
appealing. But I'm glad that
love,
I had the experience because I wouldn't do
love
that
bombing,
again.
love bombing, love bombing. They're very charming because they need the fuel, you know? So that's part of their tactics. Absolutely. So,
So,
please.
yeah, one of the things I would like to do now is to just summarize briefly what to look for, what signs and traits to look for in a
Absolutely.
narcissistic personality, and
Absolutely.
who's the more, and as soon as when I think of it, I think that women are more likely to become victims of narcissistic personalities. I
Yes.
think so. I don't have a study in front of me to say, well, this is true or not, but based on the stories that I've heard from females that I know, kind of relationships that we've all gotten into at some point in time, it seems as though we fall under the spell of men who have as one young lady said, and she said this of her parents, a Dr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll personality. And she was the person who first put me on my guard about what I was dealing with. And although she
Absolutely.
did, I still didn't look for it. Dr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll personality.
Absolutely. Um, so Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and they have a mask, and I do believe more women fall prey to narcissistic relationships. That's my belief, also, Sonia, and that's because we are, as women, we are more emotional we are more expressive of our emotions and of our tendency to care. We have more of a nurturing trait than men. Um, Not to say that men are not cannot be nurturing, because they definitely are, but our tendency is to tend to people, to care for them and to befriend them. And for men, their tendencies is to conquer and acquisition and achieve certain things. Okay, that's their tendency. So what we can look for is, and we have to get back to, I want to really push this, is when you're feeling a need to be with someone, or you want to be in a relate, work on yourself first. Really feel confident and whole in yourself before you make yourself too available to a relationship. Okay, in the Christian uh, doctrine, it talks about the two shall become one, like husband and wife become one, right? Well, you want to be as whole as possible before you get with another person. You want to be secure and stable in your personhood before you attach yourself to another person. And that's the optimal way, but it doesn't always happen like that. I understand. So what we look for is the red flags is, do they show any kind of real concern about me? Like, are they asking me, how am I feeling? Are they listening to the things that I like to do? Like, if you're going out to dinner, do they say, what kind of food would you like today, honey? Or in your conversations, when you're talking about what you like to eat. Oh, I like Mexican, I like Chinese, I like Italian, I like Greek food, whatever it is that you said. Will they later say, oh, I found this really nice Greek food, because they heard you say that you like Greek food, Um, you know, and always listen to your gut instinct. Your gut instinct is there for a reason. They call it the second brain. All right.
That's yes.
Yes, they call it the second brain. And if you feel a little bit of discomfort, uh, I call that a pink flag. Okay, it's not necessarily a red flag, but it's a
Mhm.
big pink flag. Okay, so if you have any kind of pink flags, you need to pay attention to that and ask yourself, why do I feel nervous around them? Why do I feel like I can't trust them? you know. I would say take your time. People, it takes time to get to know someone, you know, and you want to establish is there a pattern of trust involved in this relationship? And it doesn't have to be intimate, romantic. It could be just business, you and I, you know. It
That's
could be
correct. That's correct.
it could be with your boss, your employer. I was involved. I had a job. One of the universities I worked for years ago. Um, they were doing some transitioning, and there was a new guy that was head of whatever department. I can't remember. I was a teacher, but they were doing transitioning, so they needed somebody in the office. I can't remember the title's name, you know, but I did administrative work and I was there part time. And uh, he said, "Could you do this?" I said, "Sure," you know. And so I said, "How many hours do I log in for this?" And he said, "Oh, whatever you want, just don't go over whatever 38.5." I said, "Okay." Now, when I actually I logged in, you know, and I did my hours, you know. So, but when I did it, then all of a sudden the backlash came to him because I wasn't supposed to be working two different positions or something like that, you know. But then, you know, but I did not log any of this. I didn't log our conversations down. You know, I didn't type them out. I didn't have documentation. Whenever you suspect that you are in a relationship, it doesn't have to be intimate, but employer, business, whatever, document everything, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I didn't document it. And so when I went to him and said, I can't remember, oh, I remember his name now, but I won't say it. When I said, so and so, you said that I to put this amount of time and to log it under this category. He said, I never said that. And I was like, wow, you know, I said, wow. Uh, so, it, and I saw the other administrative people all of a sudden, one of the other persons, she, he obviously was uh, telling her lies about me, and all of a sudden she was against me also. So you have to look for look for these type of things. So if it's an employer type of relationship and you feel weird, document everything. I mean everything, Sonia. At 7:16 a.m., he said this, she said that. Um, on so and so date, everything. Have a log, because when it comes to it, remember, they are exploitive. They don't care about you. They will throw you under the bus. And when they try to say that you did this, you did that, you will be able to show HR that's not true. This is what happened. And so, whenever anyone in a ruling sort of position that has authority sees that you are keeping very accurate records, they are going to look at you as a credible person. They're going to say, this person knows what she's doing, and you know, this is what they said. You know, and they have
Yeah.
documentation, they have emails, all that. But as far as a romantic relationship, uh, the number one thing is work on yourself. If you feel that if you feel needy, and it's okay, all of us had a need to be in a relationship. But if you feel like I can't live unless this person calls me 24, if you have a need for, if you have a need for excessive attention, then you need to question that. Why do I need them so much to call me, write me? Let me start taking care of myself, my needs first, because it's not fair for another person to have to support my emotions that way, you know? But
I like that. I like.
yeah. So if they are just excessive, if they are just have an excessive sense of admiration, if they self admiration, if everything is about them, if they're rude to people. But see, that's tricky also, because when I was in that relationship with that person, he was very nice to uh, to the service people. Okay, but it was because he was a businessman. You know, he was in business for himself, and he needed to have a good relationship and a good reputation because nobody would do business with him. You know, who's going to hire somebody that is unkind, right? So I would look for dysregular patterns, like, you know, like they're never they're it's never consistent. There's no consistency. Their consistency is that they are inconsistent. So I would look for inconsistency. You know, I would look for they're not dependable. Okay. um, if you tell them, if you say, Joe, I really hate when you're late all the time, and they don't care about you, about how you feel, and they continue to be late, that's a very big sign. Being late is not a sign of being a narcissist. But what is a sign that you're dealing with a narcissist is if you tell the person that your lateness really bothers me and they continue to be late. So when you see that a person is not willing to adjust their behavior that is causing you distress, that's a big sign.
Well, we're going to wrap up here. It was really great having you with me, Florence Norris. Very informative. What it says to me is that I have some more healing work to do for myself so that I don't attract more and more narcissistic personality disorder persons into my life. And I hope that the audience have also benefited from this discussion and can do some self-reflection. Am I a narcissistic person, or am I attracting that? Am I codependent and need to have a narcissistic personality in my life? This has been very, very, very informative. And I would like to thank you for being here, taking time out to be here with me, especially at the last minute. There are no words to really express my gratitude to you for that. Thank you, audience. You've been wonderful for being here. The numbers have been relatively high, and I'm grateful for that also. Thank you all so much. Have an awesome, awesome Saturday.
Thank you also.